Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the election of a super pro-globalist president in Chile in South America. Now, if the globalists had gone into a room somewhere and said, look, we want someone who's going to support all our talking points, LGBT, feminism, race, class, the green policies. If we want all of our boxes, the globalist project boxes ticked, if they manufactured a guy in the back room and put him up for election, it would be, to a large extent at least, this guy. So he's only 35 years old. I think he entered the political scene in terms of any elected role when he was 26, and has had a dream run, and he decisively won, if the numbers are to be believed. Maybe it was a Joe Biden vote counting machine that determined the tally, but if the numbers are to be believed, he had one of the most decisive electoral wins in Chilean election history. So that's a little suspect. But anyway, look, the guy got, I think it was 55 to 45%, which in electoral terms is just a super landslide. Now, his agenda is again, very globalist, very leftist, as in the globalists use the leftist sort of veneer to cover their globalist project to make it saleable to the poor, who are getting poorer by the day because of the globalist project. But it all sounds good, and this guy's talking. He's going to tax the crap out of the super rich. He's going to have green projects everywhere. He's going to have gay, lesbian this and so that. It's going to be an absolute fest of globalist, the globalist project. So it's just a little surprising that this guy got up, given that he had so little political capital. Now, the centre-right government, and this has been centre-right since the last 40 years or so, I guess, and I wouldn't say they're anti the globalist project, but they're certainly not for it. They don't think it really works very well in South America, and they've slow walked it or been very reluctant and half-hearted participants in the globalist project, which must have frustrated the crap out of the globalists. So it's now very convenient that they've got rid of those people and they've got one of their own in charge. And I think it's beyond coincidence personally, but there you go. Now, the economy of Chile is in many respects probably the most advanced economy and efficient economy and reliable economy in South America. So the globalists tend to gravitate particularly to the most advanced economies to take control, and this looks like, to me at least, what they've succeeded in doing in Chile. Now, I'd like to give a wider sort of backdrop to this. In the early 1970s, the Cubans and various Soviet agitators went into Chile and stirred up the place, and it turned out the poor, the poorest people who typically don't vote, turned out that the poorest people got them to vote, and they did this by bussing them around the wealthy suburbs of Santiago, the capital of Chile, and out towards the beach areas of Viña del Mar and that sort of thing, and saying, look at these white mansions, they go up in the hill, look at these white mansions with the fancy swimming pool, the hot chicks and the fancy cars. All that will be yours. All that will be yours. We'll take it from those rich people and give it to you. These beautiful houses and this incredible lifestyle of wealth and leisure is all yours if you vote for a communist president. And so they voted for, succeeded in getting Salvador Allende elected as president. Now, he was pretty much a committed Marxist, and there was a lot of, you'd call them sort of white Anglo-type Chileans who left the country shortly after Allende came to power as president. Now, what Allende did, he effectively followed, in many ways at least, the Soviet model, where every business and every factory and there had to have a political commissar, and the manager of the factory or the owners of the factory only had a limited say in what would happen. Anything else and most things had to be passed through an ideological prism, and the ideological commissar, political commissar, was really the one running the show and making the final decision. Now, it may varied factory to factory depending on personalities and bribery and corruption and so on. In South America, even in the advanced economies, is notoriously corrupt. Bribes are paid for a lot of things. The poorer the economy, the more the bribes, which, by the way, is a vicious cycle. The more corruption you have, the poorer the economy gets, and therefore the more corruption, and therefore the poorer, and so on. It's a cycle that the West is in now, the United States in particular. So a lot of the most capable people left Chile and emigrated to places like Australia and Canada. And so I came across a few of these people. I think I was in first year high school. I came across a few of these people and met the parents who had given a one-sided view on things, but they nonetheless, gave me and they were still quite stunned and bewildered at the speed at which the Marxists had sort of taken over the whole economy and inflicted these political commissars, most of whom, by the way, were just leftist peasant firebrands, not dissimilar in some ways to this Boric guy who's got up in Chile today or a couple of days ago as president. So they lost a lot of the brightest people from Chile leaving the country. People who had really good connections and a lot of wealth that they could keep offshore, they sort of stayed around because they knew the danger would pass. But other people who are relying on, their ingenuity and their hard work, those sorts of things, they were the ones that tended to leave. So now there was a coup later on by the military, which allegedly received some sort of CIA support. I don't know about that, but it would appear to be so, given the CIA sort of paranoia, because these were the Cold War days, the CIA paranoia with Marxist and Soviet influences and so on. The last thing they wanted was this guy to, say, invite the Soviets to have a naval base in Chile or something. That would have gone down like a lead balloon. So they got rid of Allende. I think he was assassinated, and then they installed what in effect was a military dictatorship of one of the leading generals, Augusto Pinochet. Now the political left has been in absolute meltdown over Pinochet since those days. He remains, one of the hated poster children of the so-called Nazis and fascists and whatnot. Now, if you look at the election, though, the election just held, which got Boric, the globalist leftist guy, elected in Chile, the talking points of the election were running the same. It's almost as if the playbook to according to the globalists to defeat Donald Trump was just transposed into Chile. That was all it was. There was nothing original. The other guy was a Nazi. He was a fascist. One of his relatives had known a Nazi 100 years ago. And it's just white supremacists, homophobes, and it was just an endless torrent of slurs that the globalists used against Donald Trump, or against anyone that opposes the globalist project, Viktor Orban or any of those. So it's hard not to see that it wasn't sort of globalist orchestrated and funded and so on. But I sort of wanted to cover this because it shows that if the globalists can't get what they want, they'll try and use the electoral system to get what they want. They'll stack it, they'll rig it, they'll make sure only their candidates stand for election. They'll bribe or intimidate or use blackmail against people that could get in the way. Every now and again, a Donald Trump comes along. It's very hard to blackmail with anything or whatever. So But they get rid of all the opponents, and if they can't do that, they'll just rig or stack the elections. And they've got no qualms with it. I mean, their intention is to dismantle democracy or make sure that the people's vote is meaningless and completely neutralised anyway. So if they do it a little bit earlier or a little bit later, who cares? That's their objective. So my view that the Chile election was effectively a globalist takeover of Chile, possibly the most advanced economy and most successful economy in South America, and it'll be interesting to see just how quickly they managed to fuck it up. And I'm not sure the globalist project is really for South America. They'd have to do it strictly along class lines rather along gender and race, or the gender and race and ideological view and that sort of thing. They're going to have to sort of do it along different lines, I think, but their objectives are roughly the same. But it also shows if they can't coerce a government to doing what they want, the globalists, they'll just get rid of it. And they've got form in doing it. And don't sell them short. They're well organised now at taking over and controlling any government they want to. And they go about it with great determination and focus. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.